The silence of space is not something most people can even begin to comprehend. I didn't realize how it would feel until I experienced it myself. Truly felt it, deep in my bones. When the world around you is so still, so vast, it's easy to lose yourself. But the truth is, it was never just about the silence. It was about the vast emptiness, the isolation. And for me, it was a haunting solitude, one that I've never shared with anyone. Not until now. Let me take you back to the summer of 1969, during the Apollo 11 mission. We were sent to make history, and we did. But what the world didn't know was the role I played in ensuring that history was even possible. It was more than just a moon landing. It was about survival, about perseverance, and about conquering fear in the face of the most unimaginable circumstances. I was Michael Collins, the third astronaut on that historic flight, and I was the one who orbited the moon alone. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, they are the names everyone remembers. They were the ones who walked on the moon, touched the lunar surface, and planted the American flag, becoming the first humans to leave their mark on another celestial body. It was their moment, their glory. But what they don't realize, and what no one really talks about, is that it would have all been for nothing without me. Without the one who stayed behind, in orbit, alone in the dark abyss of space. I wasn't in the spotlight. No one cheered for me. No one celebrated the countless hours I spent alone in the command module, orbiting the moon. But if anything had gone wrong, if anything had failed, I was the one who would have had to bring them home. And trust me, that was a far greater responsibility than anything they could ever face on the moon's surface. The technicalities, the mathematics, the split-second decisions, those were mine to make. Every moment I spent in the command module was filled with the weight of the entire mission, the lives of my fellow astronauts resting solely in my hands. I had no room for error, no time for hesitation. The slightest miscalculation, the smallest mistake, and I would have doomed us all. As the only person in the spacecraft's orbit, I was truly the loneliest man in the universe. While Neil and Buzz were busy with their historic walk on the lunar surface, I was alone. Alone with my thoughts, alone with the vast emptiness of space, and alone with the realization that if something went wrong, I would be the one to face it. The thing no one really talks about, though, is the fact that I wasn't just orbiting the moon in peace. I was also cut off from communication. The farther I went around the far side of the moon, the more isolated I became. During those moments, I lost all contact with both Earth and my fellow astronauts. There was no voice in my ear, no lifeline to pull me back. For those few minutes, I was completely, utterly alone, and that was terrifying. The cold emptiness of space presses in on you in ways no human can truly understand until they're there, floating amidst the void. It's a silence so profound, so suffocating, that it almost feels as though the universe is holding its breath. And in that silence, in that isolation, I came face to face with something I never expected, my own mortality. I remember looking out at the moon from the command module, the surface bathed in the dim, ghostly light of the distant sun, and feeling an overwhelming sense of reverence. In those moments, I felt smaller than I've ever felt in my life, yet somehow more connected to the universe than I ever had before. It was as if the infinite vastness of space was opening my eyes to a truth I had never considered. The moon wasn't just another celestial body, it was a mirror, reflecting the insignificance of human existence against the backdrop of the cosmos. And yet, it was in those moments of profound isolation that I found a strange clarity. It wasn't just about the mission anymore. It wasn't about the space race or the competition with the Soviet Union. It was about the human spirit, our unyielding desire to push beyond what we know, to explore the unknown, and to conquer our deepest fears. The loneliness was overwhelming, but in that solitude, I found peace. And in that peace, I realized just how fragile life truly is. When you're that far from Earth, you begin to understand just how small we all are. And in that smallness, in that silence, you face something more profound than any mission, any task, any achievement. You face yourself. But it wasn't just the solitude that struck me. It was the incredible sight of Earth rise from the lunar horizon. As I orbited the moon, I caught a glimpse of our planet, a tiny blue marble suspended in the endless blackness of space. It was a moment so profound that words can hardly do it justice. To see Earth from the moon, To witness the birthplace of humanity rising above the barren lunar surface was a humbling experience. It made everything I had ever known feel insignificant. The Earth, so fragile, so small in the grand scheme of the universe, became a symbol of hope. It was a reminder of why we were there, why we were pushing the boundaries of human knowledge, and why we were willing to risk everything to explore the unknown. But I wasn't just watching Earth rise. I was also facing my own rise, my own journey from solitude to self-realization. The experience wasn't just about the mission, it was about understanding the depths of the human condition. What does it mean to be human when you're so far from home, when you're so far removed from everything familiar? What does it mean to be truly alone? It was a question I had to answer for myself. And then there was the communion. Buzz Aldrin, in a moment of quiet reverence, had brought wine with him to the moon. Although it went against NASA's regulations, Buzz decided to partake in communion, to connect with something greater than himself in the most sacred of places. On the surface of the moon, far from Earth, he took a moment to be with his Maker. That moment was a reminder that, no matter how far we traveled, no matter how isolated we became, we were still connected to something greater, to something beyond the stars. Eventually, the mission came to an end. Armstrong and Aldrin made their historic journey back to the command module, and I guided the spacecraft to pick them up. The three of us made our way back to Earth, a journey that would take us back to the safety of our families, back to the world that had been waiting for us. But what the world didn't see, what they didn't understand, was the toll the mission had taken on us. While Neil and Buzz were hailed as heroes, I was left in the shadows, my role in the mission often overlooked. I was the one who kept them safe, the one who ensured they would come home. Yet, no one knew the full extent of the danger we had faced, the life and death stakes that had been in play at every moment. The truth is, the real hero of the Apollo 11 mission wasn't just the ones who walked on the moon. It was the one who kept the spacecraft in orbit, the one who piloted the craft through the darkest hours of space, the one who kept us all alive. That's what nobody understood. That's what nobody could have known. But the experience changed me. It reshaped my view of the world, of space, of life itself. The isolation, the fear, the moments of terror, they all led to something greater. A deeper understanding of what it means to be human, what it means to be alive. And in that moment, as I stared out at the endless expanse of space, I realized that while I may have been alone in the universe for a time, I had never been more connected to humanity. Because in the end, that's what space travel is all about. It's about exploring the unknown. It's about pushing the limits of what we can achieve, and it's about reminding ourselves that no matter how vast the universe may be, we are never truly alone.